Me again. The thing when you're tracing all the shit that's going on in the world today, and you try and wrap your head around like how could somebody do that? Like these people have to be different. Like is this satanic? Is it what? Like what makes these people different that they can commit these atrocities against mankind, against civilization, or whatever? That they're okay with suffering and death and all this sort of stuff. Most of us can't wrap our head around how you can do that. So, it forces us to ask the big questions, right? We got to find out are they different than us? Like, what are the origins of mankind? Like, who are we? What's our purpose here? What's, these big questions that it leads to. And so for me, it's part of my question. My favorite shit to research is the origins of mankind. And, I do that through uh, tracing history of scriptures and belief systems and cultural evolution. I look at anthropology and archaeology, as well as all the scriptural stuff. And so these folks are different, right? There's something about them. They're able to separate themselves. I have this crack that puts that line in my thing, whatever. But they separate themselves, right? They're different than us, and the royalties and the clergies, these folks, they're basically the ones that rule everything, right? And so the royalty is known as blue bloods, right? Now, what does that mean, blue bloods? Our blood's not blue, obviously, it's red, but that's where our blood is iron based, and there's some creatures on the world that have blue blood, that their blood is copper based, right? It's prevalent. So the things that are blue bloods, like we have octopuses, different crustaceans like lobsters, crabs. I think spiders are blue bloods, but these aren't humans, right? So why do we call royalty blue bloods? Well, part of this search for the origins of man, where do we come from? I look at like what are we? We can look at our blood types. We can trace the languages to try and see the origins of man. There's this out of Africa theory. There's this Indus Valley theory that we have in our lineage, right? Pre Homo sapiens sapien, right? We find human remains a couple 100,000 years old, and they're of different types, right? We have the Cro-Magnon and Neanderthal, right? Now, there's certain things we can trace with our genetics. We have mitochondrial and wait a minute, I want to stick to the bloodline thing because that's where I'm going. I don't know if you've ever heard. Some people have negative blood types. I'm O positive. If you have a negative blood type, which that means Rh negative, it's a rhesus factor. It's a protein in the blood, and so the negative blood types are only about 15% of the population, right? So most folks are positive. But now this negative one, okay, Rh is rhesus. Rhesus is a type of monkey, right? This is part of how we trace our lineage, how they say we've evolved, the evolutionary theory that we evolved from monkeys. This is part of that tracing. But you know what? All of the other primates on the planet, of the like 600 and something species, 300 primaries plus subspecies, blah, 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 none of them have negative blood types. So, but it's only 15% of humanity that is Rh negative. Now, one of the interesting things about this Rh negative is, I'm sure when you got pregnant, Shayna, you had to take a blood test, right? And you got to find out if you mated with a compatible blood type. All of our bloods are compatible. All that, whether you're A, B, O, whatever, all humans, we can exchange blood, except for these negative folks. These negative ones, they see the Rh positive blood as foreign invaders or whatever, and the body attacks it, and it'll, and so if a woman who is Rh negative gets pregnant by a Rh positive blood type male, then the fetus will be attacked and rejected, and so you have to get a shot to help. I forget the name of the shot they give you if you're Rh negative. And so this Rh negative thing is just very strange. Most of us can all be traced, have connections to this primate thing, but some of us don't. So this kind of fucks up the evolutionary theory, right? If we all come from monkeys. Okay, now the Cro-Magnon lineage is unchanged. There's been from Neanderthal. When they've got DNA samples and stuff, and they get blood types, and they could. There's no negative blood types in the Neanderthal lineage. The Cro-Magnon, it does show up. Now, in this out of Africa theory, when you're talking about how humanity evolved on the Earth, it kind of fucks that up because there is no negative blood types in Africa. There's no Rh negative there. It seems to be concentrated in certain regions of the world, and we can see how this Rh negative spread, and it comes from, I talked about the Aryan influence and connection to things, and it come from the Caucasus Mountains in those areas. Well, Rh negative seems to come from the Caucasus Mountains also. This is the world's primary. The highest concentration of people, I think, is the Basque people, and they're from that region over there, the Basque. But none in Africa. Is different percentages and different populations. But when they trace the back through time, what these populations that had this blood type, you can trace how it evolved, how it spread, right? And so it's interesting. There's something. We are not from a single lineage. We are a hybrid species. And now that's speaking in terms of genetics and blood types. This Cro-Magnon was a different species. Now, there's not enough time here, and I don't have my thoughts together to do it, but I know you have an interest in extraterrestrial activities, and one of the most ancient creation stories that we have is from the Sumerians, right? It's the oldest writings that we have. The first form of written recorded history that we know of currently is the Sumerian cuneiforms, and they tell a creation story that these beings from the sky, they call them Anunnaki, which means from heaven to earth they came. But these Anunnaki people came down here, and these were there was a couple of them, big famous ones that we might consider gods or whatever, called Enlil and Enki. And some of their story matches some of the biblical stories. This dude Enlil created a flood. They have a whole flood story. Fucking dog. She loves me. She loves me. And so their story, the Sumerian creation myth, says that these Anunnaki came down here and they mixed with the people of the earth, and they did genetic manipulation of not the people, of the animals, I guess people, and did some genetic manipulation and made hybrids, a little bit of themselves mixed with some of the animals of the earth, and they made these genetically hybrid people that potentially are us humans. Now, maybe this is the line where the Rh negative comes from, that they're these alien hybrids, maybe. Now, there's a couple of things here. It seems to be that the Rh negative is tied to the mitochondrial DNA, where it's like looking back through time at our DNA, the Y chromosome, the male, uh, does not have the negative, the lack of this rhesus protein. It's in the female side. And now, I'm already at 10 minutes, but there's a lot of interesting things about this. All right, I'll do another one on the characteristics of Rh negative people, but like I said, it seems to connect somehow to mitochondrial DNA, which is the DNA transferred through the mother, through the female. And now, in the ancient mythologies, the females were regarded as the higher divinity, right? We had these god figures. The male was usually the creator, but the real divinity was the female, the worship of the goddess, which man has decided to downplay in the newer religions as we came out with the New Testament, blah blah blah. But yeah, women goddesses, and a lot of goddesses are portrayed. Well, I'm just going to leave it right there. It's just very interesting. This Rh negative, we are a hybrid species, both according to scripture and according to genetics. We are a hybrid species. So who did we breed with? Who's this? What's this other influence, this other input that created us? Rh negative people next.